They called him a fool, a poor farmer who wasted his time helping others instead of himself. But one day, the entire village would discover the truth about kindness and how karma never ever forgets. This is the story of Ravi, the humble farmer whose compassion changed everything. In a peaceful village, nestled among golden fields, lived a man named Ravi. He owned a small plot of land, just enough to feed his family. Yet, every single morning, before he even took his first bite of breakfast, he would take a handful of rice and scatter it by the river for the hungry birds. His wife would often sigh and ask, "Why do you give away our food when we have so little for ourselves?" Ravi would just smile and reply, "Because kindness multiplies. What you give will one day return, but in ways we can't even imagine." Living right next to Ravi was Dinesh, a wealthy and arrogant farmer. Dinesh worked his laborers to the bone, never shared his fortune, and never cracked a smile. Whenever he saw Ravi feeding the birds or helping a stranger on the road, he would laugh out loud. "You're poor because you waste your time on things that don't pay," Dinesh would mock. "The world doesn't reward kindness, Ravi. It rewards power." Ravi would simply reply, "Perhaps, but the world remembers every seed you plant. When the ones no one sees." That year, the rains never came. The fields cracked under the relentless sun. The crops withered and died, and even the wide riverbed turned to dust. Panic gripped the village as food became dangerously scarce. Every day, Ravi prayed, sharing what little water he had left with the weak animals that wandered onto his farm, desperate for a drink. He couldn't bring himself to turn them away. Meanwhile, Dinesh hoarded every last drop for himself. He locked his well and openly mocked his desperate neighbors. "Let them suffer," he sneered. "I worked hard for what is mine." Then, one moonless night, a bolt of lightning struck near Dinesh's barn. The bone-dry hay ignited instantly. Within moments, a ferocious fire roared to life, devouring everything in its path: his harvested crops, his granary, his beautiful home. Dinesh screamed for help, his voice cracking with terror, but no one dared approach. The heat was like a furnace wall. Suddenly, out of the suffocating darkness, Ravi appeared, leading a few brave villagers, all carrying buckets of water. For hours they fought the blaze, their faces streaked with soot, their bodies aching, until the very last flame was extinguished. Exhausted and covered in ash, Ravi walked over to the stunned Dinesh and said softly, "You're safe now, brother. That is all that matters." Dinesh collapsed to his knees and broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. "Why?" he choked out. "Why would you help me? I mocked you. I never once showed you an ounce of kindness." Ravi smiled, his gentle eyes reflecting the first faint glow of dawn, because the seeds of hatred only grow into pain. But the seeds of kindness, they can bloom even in the middle of a fire. The very next morning, something incredible happened. For the first time in months, dark clouds gathered on the horizon. A low rumble of thunder rolled across the sky, and then, slowly at first, rain began to fall. It soaked the thirsty land, filled the empty wells, and brought life back to the dying fields. The villagers called it a miracle. But Ravi just looked up at the sky and whispered, "When we give without expecting anything in return, heaven gives back in its own time." Dinesh rebuilt his home, but this time he was a changed man. He shared his wealth with those in need, helped dig new wells for the village, planted trees to give travelers shade, and every morning, he would go to the river to feed the same birds he once called useless. From that day on, he told anyone who would listen, "If you want to be truly rich, don't hoard gold, plant seeds of kindness, because everything you give, one day, returns to you." Remember, kindness is never wasted. Even when it goes unnoticed, it creates ripples that always find their way back. True wealth isn't measured by what you own, but by a heart that knows how to give. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiration. We'll see you in the next video.